Hey, Twisted listeners, I'm Cindy,
And I'm Diva
and this is Twisted Listeners, a podcast about murder.
and lists.
And this is part 2 of people who were convicted, or rightfully or wrongly so, due to the blood spatter evidence. This is probably going to be a short one. We both
Okay.
just were like, oh, my story is kind of short. So, a few of ours have been a little longer lately, so this will be a nice little break for everyone. A little quick, get in, get out, get it all in, all the info out to everybody.
A little bite, true crime nugget appetizer.
Yeah, little nuggies, true crime nuggies. I like that. Yeah, so nothing to report on my end. Still sick. I was listening to the recording, and first of all, I sound super crazy when I'm talking. And then when you're
Oh.
talking, and I'm responding, I sound like I'm dying. And there's multiple points in the last recording, dude.
I
where
didn't feel that way.
No, but listening back to the recording, there's
Okay.
multiple points where I'm like mumbling and you can't hear me.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm so sorry to our listeners. I was like, should I edit these out? And I was like, these are fucking hilarious. I'm going to leave
It's
them in.
just the organic sounds of Cindy's death in the
Yeah.
background. So.
And I guarantee you I said nothing of value, so don't try to decipher it. There was nothing important. Anyway, you go first this time, right?
I guess so, yeah.
All right.
And mine's what I'm calling a Halloween whodunit. And it's quite Halloweeny, which I
love
literally
that.
transparently, that's completely why I picked it. I mean, it's also kind of a riveting, like I said, whodunit, where you're like, what's happening?
Yeah, ooh, I love it.
Yeah. So this is the case of Travis Stay, I guess. I went by the suspect here.
Okay.
Spoiler alert. So this happened in 2007 in Grand Forks, North Dakota. I also thought we don't do a lot of crimes in North Dakota.
That's true. I don't think there's enough population there to really support a lot of crime.
We don't do a lot of things of the Dakotas in general. They're kind of quiet up there.
I feel a list coming on, but okay.
Yeah, Dakota murders. So October 27th, very Halloween-timey here, 2007, a large group of 40 to 50 friends, and I want to say like friends, question mark, probably like also a little bit of acquaintances, right? It's a broad group, organized a party bus for a Halloween bar crawl through Grand Forks, and I learned one fact about Grand Forks, North Dakota, which is that even though it is sparsely populated, it is dense with alcohol. So it's a place you can go to many bars. So
awesome.
all these folks are in their 20s. Yeah. These folks are in their 20s. They're in costumes. They are consuming hundreds of Jello shots. I'm not sure if that came with the party bus or if someone made them from home, but there's a lot of Jello shots.
Okay.
Yeah. Just to paint a picture. There's a lion, there's a hunter, a gangster.
Wait, what?
Oh, sorry, we're a little bit delayed, so that's why.
Oh, okay, hold on. I'm going to stop my video.
Okay.
You stop your video and let's see if that helps.
Okay.
Anyway, there's a lion and a hunter? What are you talking about?
I'm just talking about the costumes.
Oh.
You know?
Oh my God, I was like, what the fuck?
Not an actual...
I'm like, did you take Jello?
Yeah.
What is happening?
No, a gangster rapper or a 20s gangster. I'm not sure what kind of gangster. A cowboy, gotcha. And there's a Paris Hilton, which is very appropriate for the time.
Oh, 2007. That's very much. That's like around when I was Lady Gaga, right? Something like that.
Yes. Close.
I was a little later than that, but anyway.
Yeah. So one party bus rider was Joel Loveline. He was out with his fiancée, 31-year-old Heather Eastling, who was dressed as a mechanic. And Joel, I don't want to diss him here, but he was a little lazy on the costume front because he just wore his hockey regalia from his favorite hockey team, the University of North Dakota Fighting Sioux, which, let's take a beat. I'm going to not get into it, but I don't love Native Americans as mascots. We don't love that.
Animals and Native Americans. That should just tell you something. Or like the fighting Irish also, not to be like, oh, white people are oppressed, but like there was a lot of that shit back in the day.
Yeah.
But like
I don't like people as mascots. Yeah, I don't like
no,
it.
not really a good thing.
I don't love it. Okay. But that's what he's into. He's got his hockey stuff on. So she was an elementary school teacher and he worked in IT at a hospital. And they're just partying on Halloween. It's nothing wrong with that.
Great. Yeah.
So the party bus partiers stop at a casino/bar called the Broken Drum, where Joel played blackjack and had a cigar. He's having a great time.
Okay.
Around 11:30 p.m., he went outside briefly to take a phone call. He then came back in for a second and told Heather, his fiance, that someone got left by the bus and he was just going to check on them. So I think either Heather and Joel were purposefully staying behind and were ditching the bus, or had also been left behind as well. So I'm not sure, but they did not catch it. I think it might have been on purpose.
Okay. Were they trying to like have time together, you think, or what?
Yeah, maybe, or just it's late. Maybe they were just over it. They'd already party bussed like all night, you know.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, people do that. People start to like
Yeah.
splinter away over time.
Yeah, and he just wanted to play blackjack, you know. He's like, I'm just into the Broken Drum. So they're there, but someone got like left behind who tried to catch it. It's a whole thing. So he's like, I'm gonna go see what's going on. So that's the last Heather saw Joel when he left outside for that. And apparently just a few minutes later, someone ran inside the bar yelling that someone needs help and to call 911, which someone did. And Heather soon realized that the person they were yelling about needing help was Joel.
And this was like, so it was just a few minutes later, and it was like at the same location, essentially.
Yeah, they're all just at the same bar. Yeah. So when she goes outside, she finds Joel lying on the pavement, bleeding and unresponsive.
Ooh.
He had been beaten so severely that the bones of his face were broken, and he had died from choking on his own blood.
Wait, holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So a lot of damage got done in just a short time.
That's so crazy. Like in just a matter of like, I mean, actually
minutes.
Like kind of like seconds, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was rushed to the hospital, the same one where he worked, strangely, but they could not save him. He was already dead.
Wow.
So
wow.
Yeah, it's just super random. Heather's like spun around like, what the fuck? You know?
Yeah.
Police and investigators arrive at the Broken Drum and try to figure out what happened, but it's hard to track down anyone who may have like been partying with them because the party bus departed. It left.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to track down a list of people that are identified only by their costumes. So they're like, okay, we got to find a clown, we got to find a cowboy, we got to find a hunter. And that's what they have to do. So at this,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's just so like it's so dark. This is just really dark. It's not like funny. It's just dark.
It gets really dark here in a second because I'm not even going to say their names. I think the names are like almost more confusing, so I'm just going to go by the costumes. So at the scene, they find a crucial piece of evidence, which is a yellow paw mitten that once belonged to some kind of lion costume, and it was clearly covered in blood.
Dude, this is like something that would be like a WB episode of like some show on the WB. Like or even like Bones, where they like think this shit is funny and it's like horrifying.
Yeah, it's the smoking paw is very silly.
Yeah, it is.
So investigators catch up with the clown at another nearby bar where the party bus went. And when they find him, the clown, Cindy, is crying and shaking. Crying clown.
That's crying shit. Jesus, dude.
So they find this suspicious, and what's more haunting and scary than a crying clown?
Maybe a laughing one walking at you, like I don't know, but not many.
I don't know.
Yeah, all things involving a clown.
He claimed actually a quiet, emotionless clown, also scary.
Yeah,
also
just
scary.
Clowns in general can be like terrifying.
Yeah. So the clown claimed that he had just been in a fight with his girlfriend, and that's why he was upset. But then later, on a subsequent interview, post-clown costume, he claimed that he was actually crying because he had previously been mugged, and the experience of the Joel's murder and fight were triggering to him.
So he was like witness to it.
Yeah. So it's weird that he changes the story. He also lawyers up pretty quickly and was never cooperative with police.
Yeah, I don't love that. Don't love that at all.
When they find the cowboy, he too is suspicious as he gives them a fake name and birth date. He also apparently became so drunkenly aggressive that, according to cops, he had to be handcuffed for a minute just to simmer down. Because he's
Wow.
like swinging at cops, probably with like just a emboldened drunken white man entitlement there.
Yeah.
And interestingly, he asks, was Joel wearing, when they tell him about Joel's murder or attack, he asks, was he wearing a green North Dakota hockey jersey? And they're like, yeah, it's interesting that you asked that. You clearly saw some shit, right?
Yeah, that's like a pretty specific thing if you didn't see anything.
Yeah. So once all these party goers have sobered up, they all do come in and talk to police. The clown and the cowboy eventually tell police that they had seen a fight break out between their friend, who was dressed as a hunter, and a man dressed in a yellow lion costume, which he had homemade from a yellow hoodie. So it's a very basic lion costume.
So a hunter and a lion got in a fist fight outside of a bar.
Yes, correct. This is what the clown and cowboy are reporting. And because he had been fighting, they report, the lion was not allowed back on the bus. So that's why he was left behind.
Wait, who's the
lion? Okay, so the lion is going to be Travis Stay. Joel is a hockey player, remember.
And they're on separate buses, so there's multiple buses.
No, there's only one bus. Oh. Joel is playing blackjack and stays behind. He's not going on any bus, right?
Right.
And then because the yellow lion here, Travis Stay, is fighting, they don't let him on the bus. So he's forced to stay behind.
So Joel's on the party bus, Travis is taking like the bus, like to get around?
No. Joel is not taking any bus. He stays at the bar with Heather. He's playing blackjack. He's chilling out.
And then, but was Joel ever on the party bus?
Yes. Yeah, that's
okay. So they were on the same party bus. This guy,
yes.
Travis, and Joel. Okay, sorry.
Yes.
That's what I was trying to figure out. And I was very confused because I was like, "Are we talking about like a city bus? Is dude like trying to go?"
No, there's no city buses. All the costumed people come from the same origins here. The same...
Gotcha. Okay. So it's one bus.
So
Thank you.
yellow. Yes. So yellow lion here, Travis Stay, stays back at the bar, and that is presumably who Joel says he's going to go check on, right? Because he was upset to be left behind.
Right. Okay.
Again, they kicked him off because he was fighting. Apparently, they didn't punish the hunter in that way, only the lion.
Because maybe the lion was the aggressor.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
And as they left, the clown and cowboy on the party bus, the clown and cowboy said they saw him speaking to a man in a green hockey jersey. So that puts them together.
Got it. Okay. All right.
So later, Travis Stay, or Yellow Lion, comes to police for questioning after hearing, basically that police wanted to speak with him. Travis is visibly injured with bruises and cuts around his eye and cuts on his hands. And you can see that in the photo I posted to Instagram, which I think is like an intake kind of photo.
Gotcha. Yeah.
He says that the hunter punched him out. He admits to the fight with the hunter, and he said that the hunter at one point punched him out in the parking lot at the bar, like out, like he was like out cold.
Okay.
And at some point later that night, he threw out his yellow lion hoodie because it was covered in blood from his injuries and from the fight.
Okay.
Which sounds suspicious, but he says it's from, the time where he got pummeled in the face, right? That's where the blood came from.
Okay.
So he even lets police take the rest of his costume, like his pants and shoes, all the other stuff he was wearing that night, and they were able to recover the lion hoodie that he threw away as well.
Okay.
But not helping Travis out at all, I think, is the fact that he says he was too drunk to remember pretty much anything that happened. He can put some things together, but he had about 10 drinks up to this point. So his memory is not clear. He just says that, however, that he is positive he didn't hurt Joel. It's kind of more of an instinct or a feeling, though, than like a distinct memory that he didn't.
But
no one saw Travis, Mr. Lion here, punch or fight Joel. No one can say that they saw that.
Okay.
Yeah. But Travis was in this fight with the hunter, and later that night, my cat's commenting. Um, later that night, he actually threw an unprovoked punch at another partier after following him down the street.
Okay. Fuck.
Which Travis says he does not remember doing.
So he doesn't remember doing that, but he also doesn't remember potentially killing Joel. But
Right, but he
obviously
swears he
doing
didn't.
these things. Okay, but he
Yeah,
also doesn't remember punching this other guy. And it's like, well,
yeah,
dude, you're
yeah.
fucking blackout drunk and you're a violent drunk because you're an asshole. So
Yeah, so it doesn't look great. However, investigators test his hoodie and his pants, and they do find Joel's blood on them.
well,
Um,
that's shocking.
yeah. So after this discovery, Travis is arrested and charged with Joel Loveling's murder. Before going to trial, prosecutors offer him a deal for 10 years for like manslaughter, essentially, if he pled guilty, which he says, absolutely the fuck not, because I didn't do this. So he's like dead set that he did not do this.
Right. I mean, which is
Just,
just fucking on top of everything else, that's just straight up stupid. Like that's just
I
very, very
mean, I
stupid.
kind of get it. Like, it's scary to imagine that you, while blackout drunk, could do this. But if you were already fighting, like, it is
And
a
there's
slippery
fucking
slope.
blood. There's blood evidence, dude. Like there's
Yeah.
you can't really argue that. Like that's
Well,
pretty obvious.
it's complicated. It's not as obvious as you think, in my
I
opinion.
think that's why we're here. So
We're here. Yeah. So at the trial, they present the DNA evidence I just mentioned, the smoking paw that was left behind, right? The witnesses
you can't
that
say
saw
that.
him.
We're gonna get a bad review.
Smoking paw?
Yes.
It's true. It's a smoking gun, but it's a paw.
You're right.
It's exactly what it is.
All right.
I'm not making light. It's literally the smoking paw.
You're being factual and literal.
Yeah, literal. So the witnesses that saw him talking to Joel, again, not fighting, but just briefly speaking to him.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that he did, was punchy that night and trying to fight people, basically. And they argue that Joel was essentially trying to come to his aid and check on him, but he was so riled up after the Hunter fight. And of course, you can imagine being a drunk person and being told you can't get on the party bus. That's going to rile you up even more. And in a drunken, stupid haze, he just attacked Joel because he was there. So that's kind of what the prosecution argues.
I mean, it sounds good to me.
It's plausible. Yeah.
I mean, we have the bloody paw at the scene. We have his blood all over him. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah,
okay,
so
you're going to tell me. I'm excited.
I'm going to tell you why this is not an airtight case for the prosecution. And I kind of... okay. So the issues that the defense presents, which I think are all very legit, include, and this is a little basic, but a size difference, because Joel, I think, Joel was 6'3" and 240 pounds, and Travis is significantly smaller. So doesn't mean he couldn't do it, but it's still like, right.
Right.
Yeah. A blood splatter analyst, here's our blood splatter, testifies that the splatter on Travis's lion costume was not necessarily from him being the killer. And it could have just been like the periphery of the splatter, for like if he was near him being killed or beaten, that would have been enough. So it sounds like it wasn't enough blood, right? That it was sort of like a little bit of splatter. Right. It also could have just been from him coming to his aid or touching him after he had been wounded. And doesn't have to be from being the killer. Like, it's not definitive.
Okay.
Yeah. A doctor also testified that the cuts on Travis's hands were very light and superficial, and do not correspond with how injured your hands would be if you literally broke a man's face in with your bare hands, which takes a... I mean...
Okay, hold on. It wasn't his bare hands. He had gloves on.
Right, but like, how much are the paws going to protect you?
I don't know, but they're going to do something. I mean, there are people that beat people up with gloves on their hands, and it makes a huge difference. So I don't know. I feel like that's not so clear either, because they're like, well, you only have small cuts on your hands. But yeah, if you punch something, like people wear like when they hit a speed bag, they wear really light gloves. And if you didn't wear those, your hands would get fucking tore to shreds. But you wear those and you hit the shit out of this thing and it doesn't fuck you up. So I don't know. I'd have to see the paw.
Yeah, I don't know how much blood was on the paw. I think that would be more like definitive to me. But like, I don't know. I think unless he had a weapon or something that we don't know of, I feel like the hands and or the paws should have more blood and grossness on them. Like, I don't know. It's a lot to like smash someone's face in with your hands, and his hands are like immaculate, practically.
I guess. I don't know.
So the wounds in his hands, the light wounds, also contain bits of like asphalt and grit, which I could take as reading two ways. You could read it as like, well, they're actually just scrapes from him, like hitting the ground or being on the ground from his previous fight or hitting the ground. They're not from a fight with Joel. But you could also read it as like his paw came off and he hit the ground and missed Joel, right? And that's when he got those light cuts.
Yeah.
Like say he's
Right,
drunkenly
that's true.
punching and hits the ground next to his head, right?
Right. Yeah.
Joel
No, totally.
also, Joel also didn't have any defensive wounds, implying it wasn't like a fight where they both exchanged blows. So if I don't know what that means, but basically it sounds like whoever attacked him, he was just attacked. Like it was not a mutual fight. He was knocked out before he could throw a punch back.
Well, which would mean that that's why he doesn't have any like injuries from the fight. Like there's no fighting back. I don't know. I'm not at all convinced yet, but we'll see. We'll see.
None of Travis's blood was found on Joel's clothing, which is a little weird, considering he had supposedly just been, by all witness accounts, punched and was fighting aggressive, so was covered in blood from another fight. So it is weird.
Right.
Travis. Yeah.
Right.
So Travis argues another scenario, which honestly sounds plausible to me, which is that the hunter he said was fighting him was still there and jumped both of them and attacked both of them. That's when he got knocked out. And then he subsequently attacked Joel for just being in the mix. There's also, so I honestly think it's plausible. The timeline is also telling and kind of works in that story's favor, because although the prosecution alleges that the bus, for the original story I mentioned, that the bus had departed and then Travis attacks Joel, right? The surveillance footage from the bar, the surveillance footage from the bar shows that after Joel stepped outside that last time, 3.5 minutes later, the clown is shown leaving the parking lot. So there's like multiple minutes of they're all still there in the parking lot.
Okay.
It's not just the two of it's not just the two of them.
Okay, so it could be somebody else. And it's weird because there's no witnesses that have come forward and said, and that could be because they aren't witnesses, they're suspects or perpetrators.
So we all know the clown left on the bus. So this means the surveillance footage proves the bus was still there when Joel was attacked and then left.
Right.
So they kind of the killers could have used it as like their escape thing. So who else could have been in the parking lot? And Travis's story that it could be the hunter who was still attacking him, which he does remember, could be legit. There's unresolved suspicions around the clown and the cowboy who were there, clearly witnesses by their own statements.
Right.
But they lied because they said they left on the bus before this happened. And that's not true.
Didn't.
Yeah.
What the fuck, dude?
Yeah. And why was that clown crying, Cindy?
Right.
That night.
Did the clown, he didn't have injuries though, right?
I don't know. I don't know how seriously they tested or like evaluated everyone.
Because it seems like they were like me, where they're like, oh, we already know what happened. Oops.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It's ambiguous to me. And even though the blood splatter isn't definitive to me because it sounds like it's splatter, like it doesn't sound like he was soaked in his blood, you know?
Right.
And like if he's standing next to him, absolutely, like that could have happened because this is a bloody attack. But clown and cowboy here had like lots of time to get rid of stuff and destroy things and bloody evidence because they weren't even suspects.
Right. So it gave them a big lead time.
So after 5 hours of deliberation, the jurors actually voted to acquit Travis Day, which is a little shocking. Yeah. So detectives have since stood by Travis as the only suspect, and they claim that he will always be the only suspect, and they don't suspect any of the other partygoers, and he's the only one that has physical evidence working against him, which is technically true. But like I said, they didn't have all the evidence to evaluate, in my opinion. So, but yeah, it's a bummer that they've never like really looked into any of the other partygoers. If one of them is the real killer, they're like, oh, I got away with it.
Right.
That's it. So they've officially closed the case and destroyed all evidence, which is nice.
So just nobody went to prison. Nobody got...
No.
It's just, they're like, we're done. Sorry, kids.
So unless, if the case is closed, unless someone wants to like come out of the woodwork and confess, which why would they at this point? There will probably not be any justice for Joel. And Heather, of course, said she was devastated by this. It's like maddening to know there will be no conclusion and no one will be put to justice or whatever. And she's not going to have any answers of what happened. And it's basically a whole parking lot of drunk fuckery. And I don't think it's possible to like actually nail down what happened. But Travis, meanwhile, issued an apology to the Loveling family just for being too drunk and just being there, but still maintained his innocence. This case changed the course of Travis's life as well. And he was formerly a nursing student, but he changed careers and he's gone on to become a lawyer. So there you go.
Okay. I'm like,
yeah, I mean,
that's not really inspirational to me. Like, oh, he went on to like make sure.
Well, he is a defense lawyer, so it's kind of cooler than being a prosecutor, in my opinion. But
no, agreed. I'm just whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's very unsatisfying, this Halloween whodunit, and it's very ambiguous. But like, I feel like,
it very well could have been him, just straight up.
It could have been, but I feel like it's not a slam dunk because everyone's drunk and and like. Confused and I don't know, I also don't feel like particularly like hateful towards him though, because I'm like, it's scary if someone can just murder people while drunk, so maybe he shouldn't like drink, but it seems like but it seems like he's not a dangerous person otherwise. Maybe just don't get blackout drunk, Travis.
I thought you were going to say he changed the course of his life and he's like sober now. Like that would have been cool.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. But I would think after this you might just cool it,
Yeah, maybe. That would be nice.
After the time where you maybe killed someone drunk.
Yeah. Very potentially, very possibly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Goodness. Oh my God. Okay. So there we are. Okay. All right. I'm disappointed in that case, I have to tell you.
I'm sorry.
It's
not satisfying.
It's not. This one is fucking... The one that I'm doing, I have to just tell you, like, the blood spatter is, like, very, very minimal in this case. But by the time I realized that it wasn't, like, the smoking gun that I thought it was going to be, I was so invested in this case that I was like, fuck it, I'm going to tell it anyway. So, sometimes, you guys, when we find the cases, they seem like they're going to really fit what we choose. And sometimes that ends up not being the case, but they're still good. And in this case, this is a wild ass case. So here we go. I'm going to sum it up because I don't want to deep dive. Sometimes when it's more of a like silly, ridiculous case, you just want to stay a little surface level and enjoy the moments. So that's what I'm going to do. So this takes place in Arizona. I've been doing a lot of Arizona lately. In Maricopa County in 2009. And this is, 34-year-old Dale Harrell lives with his wife, Marissa DeVault. She goes by Reese. And they live together with 3 kids. I believe 2 of them are theirs. One of them was hers from a previous marriage. And they have like a happy life. They were actually high school sweethearts. They broke up and then found each other again later in life. And it's actually really interesting how often that happens. It
is a thing.
Yeah, it really is. So anyway, they're living together. Everything's great. Dale has a good job. He makes good money. Marissa, I don't think even has to work. She's just like a stay-at-home mom. So pretty amazing situation. Prior to getting back together with Dale, Marissa had kind of a little bit of a harder life. She at one point worked as an exotic dancer. And the nickname Reese came from, like, it was her childhood nickname, and then they called her like Reese Cups was like her dancer name, which is like super weird. like, I don't know, sounds like a strange name. It's not sexy. It makes me want candy. But in any case, um, so oh, hold on. Is there a lag again?
No,
Oh, okay, good.
I think it's okay.
I heard a weird noise and I was like, where's Diva? So anyway, they're living together. Everything seems fine. On the morning or early, sorry, early morning, middle of the night on January 14th, 2009, Marissa calls 911 and she tells them that somebody broke into the home and attacked Dale. So cops arrive and they find that Dale is in his bed and he's alive. He's still alive.
Wow.
Um, yeah, but his head is like pretty well caved in. So they take him to the hospital and they interview Marissa. And Marissa's like, I don't know. I wasn't in the room. It must have been an intruder. So police kind of start looking into this and they start thinking, oh, maybe he was in bed and an intruder attacked him. But they realize, like, there's no signs of forced entry. There's no signs of a struggle. It looked as though he was, like, laying in bed asleep when this happened. So they're like, that's really interesting. Now, a
Yeah.
couple of things to note about this couple. They were making such good money that, again, Marissa didn't really have to work. And they also would rent out an extra room in their house to a friend. The first person they rented it to was a woman named Amy, who lived with them for a while and took care of their kids. Um, and so this worked out really well. I don't really know what Marissa was doing, but I've known a lot of people who have money that like want also to have their freedom. Which, like, I get that. So I guess having like an au pair is like a really cool thing if you have the money for it. So this woman lived with them for a while and everything was fine. But then they had a friend move in, Stanley Cook Jr., and he had short-term memory loss due to like a traumatic brain injury. And so he was living there at the time. So at first she says, oh, he, Dale was attacked by this random person. And the cops are like, listen, lady, like, there's no forced entry. There's no anything else, you know, uh,
Yeah.
try again. And in a panic in the interview room, she admits that she did it. She's like, I hit him. I did it.
Oh, hmm.
I hit him with like a hammer. It was in self-defense. So
Okay.
they're like, okay, why was it in self-defense? She said that he had raped her that night and that he was extremely abusive to her throughout the years. That
Okay.
he was physically abusive, emotionally abusive, sexually abusive, that it was just like a long running
Oof.
thing.
Okay.
Police look into this. There's no police reports. Nobody ever said that they saw her with bruises, injuries. She never missed work. I mean, she didn't go to work. She never missed like not work, like going to her kids, events. Like people that knew her were like, she's fine. There was nothing. The family's like, he's not a violent man. He never did anything wrong. So cops are kind
Okay.
of like, try again. They also realize they're like, oh, well, if he was like attacking you, then why does the blood spatter? Here's where the blood spatter comes in. Why doesn't it show that he was laying on his back asleep in bed when he was attacked? And you like,
Mm,
and the hammer, like, there's no struggle. There's no signs that he was even awake when it happened. So they're kind of like, try again. So she
blood
knows
doesn't lie,
the
except
blood
for
doesn't
when it
lie.
does sometimes. But
Right, right. But in this case, they can tell once again, they're like, there was no struggle. He wasn't like if he had been like on top of her and she hit him with a hammer and then he like fell off of her, the blood would show that. But the blood basically showed
Mhm.
somebody asleep in bed getting hit, getting fucked up.
Right.
So now she's like shitting herself. She's like, holy fuck, I fucking, I fucked up. One of the other things they noted was that she had $1 million insurance policy on this guy.
That is notable.
That's
Yeah,
notable. So they're
for
like,
sure.
all right. So she's like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? She talks to this poor guy, Stanley Cook Jr., and pardon me. And she convinces him that he did it. And she's like, you killed him. And you don't remember it because you have short-term memory loss. So Stanley's like, holy shit, I did? Oh my God. And he's like going to
Oh my
tell the
God.
cops, like, oh my God, I did this. And he's like, yeah, I'm the one who killed him. It wasn't Marissa. And the cops are like, bro, you have a traumatic brain injury and you trust this woman? Like,
Hmm.
no, we're not buying that. So he
Yeah.
tries to admit, that he did something he didn't fucking do. And the cops are like, no, try again. Marissa's not done. So remember, Dale's still alive at this point. And
Mm.
Marissa, pardon me, then the next thing she does is a few days later, she calls the police and tells them that she's been attacked in the park. And she was out for a jog and somebody attacked her. And like her, like, I think it's either like her ankle or her knee are like shattered. And it looks like somebody beat the shit out of her. And the only thing that I can think is that she's such a fucking narcissist that, you know, sometimes when people are in trouble and they like pretend that they're hurt to like try to like deflect from like being in trouble. I don't know if you ever seen it. Like my kid will do that. He'll be like, ow, ow. And I'm like, dude, stop pretending that you're hurt so you're not getting in trouble. Like it's such a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like childish, but it's what narcissists do. So she calls the cops. She's like, I've been attacked. It's probably the person that attacked Dale. And they're like, you already admitted you did this. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, you know.
Oh no, the killer I already said that I made up. He's back.
Yeah, he's back and he attacked me. So what police figure out very quickly is that she once again convinced Stanley, her roommate, to attack her. And he's like, okay.
Oh my God, Stanley.
She wanted him to shoot her. She wanted him to paralyze her permanently because she somehow thought that this was going to like sway things in her favor. I do not understand logic. It's so fucking weird to me. Like he's like, I don't want to shoot you because what if I hit an artery or kill you or whatever? And she's like, okay, then just like crush my legs. Just crush them. Just like fuck me up.
She is wild.
She's fucking crazy. She ends up being fine. So then when all of this craziness is happening, on February 9th, 2009, Dale's family decides to take him off of life support. And he dies because his brain injuries were just too severe. He had suffered multiple strokes, aneurysms. Like it was really fucking horrible. It was a terrible way to die. It was really fucking bad. So now police she's just still saying, you know, it wasn't me. They start looking more into her and they find out that she had a boyfriend. And she had this boyfriend for like 2 or 3 years. And he was just, you know, she met him on like a sugar daddy website, I guess. And he's like 20 years older than her. During the time that they were together, she borrowed, quote unquote, over $300,000 from him, which is like insane that she would just borrow that. Also, like, I don't know if he knows what sugar daddy websites are for. You don't loan the money, you like give it away. So,
right. Yeah.
Just another weird part of this.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the police are kind of like, for whatever reason, they don't have like enough evidence to really like arrest her. Now they want to, and they're gathering the evidence. So they go to this guy, Alan, and they're basically like, hey dude, we think you're involved. She actually, I think, like implicates him. So they start interviewing him and they search his house. And one of the things that they're searching is his computer to see like if they were communicating about this, if he had anything to do with it. And while they're searching his computer, this guy who's like 54 years old, they find child pornography. The twists keep coming. So they're basically like, hey, 54-year-old guy with child porn. Technically, so again, going back to kind of the way that search warrants work, they weren't actually like really allowed to do anything with this information because it wasn't what they were looking for. But they were like, hey, we now know that you do this. We're going to find a way to charge you unless you cooperate. Yeah. So he's like, okay, I'll cooperate. He basically tells them this whole story that she planned to kill her husband, Dale, for many years, that she had been like part of what it was. She wanted to pay Alan back the $300,000. So she took the $1 million loan out on him and concocted this plan. Now, at one point, I think she'd thought about like hiring somebody else to do it, but eventually she just took matters into her own hands and killed him. And the craziest part, so at first she tries blaming a random, saying it was abuse, blaming her roommate, getting her roommate to fucking, you know, paralyze her, thinking that will do something. God knows what she thought that would do. Tries to implicate this sugar daddy guy. And then finally, she is found guilty. She's taken, you know, to prison and goes to trial. With all this evidence, she's found guilty. Now, the craziest thing about this is this happened almost exactly 1 year after the Jodi Arias case. And it took place in the exact same court as Jodi's case. And these two, not only do they kind of look alike, but they became like friends in prison. And I'm kind of like, yeah, dude,
Oh.
you're a couple of geniuses with like super solid murder plans. You should be
Very
best friends.
similar playbooks too. Like, let's
Yeah.
just say anything,
Like, let's
and
just
go
check down the list. Yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. But the first thing that kind of fucked her over when she was trying to say like random attack was the blood spatter. And that's kind of what set her on. She panicked and admitted it, then retracted her, confession, recanted, and then went down this laundry list of other bullshit. So, yeah, pretty fucking wild case.
Wow.
And I don't know if they found the murder weapon. I was so enthralled by all the like weird shit in the case that I didn't pay as close attention to the specifics, but I do really wonder if they didn't have the blood spatter evidence, if she would have been able to sell the lie. I'm interested to know. I really do wonder.
So it still came into play as like an important thing for sure.
I think so. Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway,
there you go.
a short little ditty, a really interesting and crazy fucking case. I feel really bad for her children, I have to say. That's fucked up.
Like, yeah, that is.
Just to be that money hungry. It's like you have a man who's taking care of you, who loves you. Like you had a shitty life, and then he was with you and like lifted you up, and you fucking murder him? Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, okay. I'd rather be alone and with money than have like a partner. Like that's pretty shallow.
And also like have a partner who like takes care of you and your kids and is like a provider and like a nice person who doesn't actually abuse you, Very, so crazy. Anyway, sorry. I have to keep like clearing my throat. Hopefully by the next time we record, I'll feel better. So for next week, I get to choose. I'm very excited. I am choosing the topic of murder suicides. So we haven't done that yet, which is fucking crazy to me.
It's going to be some family annihilating, I suspect. Will happen.
Yeah, I think so.
For sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so
it's a classic.
Yeah, it's a classic. It's a really fucked up one. Very frustrating when that happens, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, excited to explore that topic and surprised we hadn't done it till now. Yeah.
Sure. There we go.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Please like, rate, review. We appreciate you. We love you all. We will have, I know I keep saying Patreon and like dangling the carrot, but I'm ready, Diva. So let's find a time.
We're ready. It's all a matter of time.
We just got to schedule it, and getting behind put us off a little, but we'll get there. And until the next episode,
stay
off our
list.
Stay off them. Bye.